Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on NT International. I am Lami Ali. Let's take the headlines. Information and Culture Minister receives reports of post-COVID-19 initiative committee on creative industry. Federal government embarks on nationwide distribution of agricultural inputs to boost her production. Also on the news, United Nations Children's Fund working to purchase dexamethasone for COVID-19 patients in poor countries. Many thanks for joining us. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has received the report of the Post-COVID-19 Initiative Committee on the Creative Industry with assurances that the federal government will study the report and act appropriately in a bid to mitigate the negative impact of the pandemic on the sector. Anthony Forson reports.
The term creative industry is referred to businesses with creativity at its core. For instance, designs, music, publishing, films and video, crafts, visual arts, fashion, television and radio, advertising, literature, among others. This sector is important in a growing economy like Nigeria because skills and talent have the potential to create wealth and jobs. It is against this background that the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, in realizing the negative impact of COVID-19 on the creative industry, set up a committee comprising members of the creative industry stakeholders to come up with a short, medium and long-term proposal that the federal government will use as a guide in catering for the sector in a post-COVID-19 era. At a virtual submission of the committee's report, the Information and Culture Minister said, based on feedbacks that has reached him, he has no doubt that the report that has been submitted is a culmination of painstaking efforts.
The report, which is very rich and detailed, is also very timely, coming at a time that the federal government is looking more towards the creative industry to help revamp the economy in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
He, however, commended the 22-member committee chaired by Ali Baba and Sir Ibrahim as vice chairperson. Lai Mohammed said their commitment to the assignment demonstrates their patriotism to their fatherland.
I can beat my chest among my peers and say that, to the best of my knowledge, this is the first time this kind of IPA committee will be set up. They will work selflessly for weeks. They will come out and give me a first-class report, and nobody asks for one single day for sitting allowance or drinking allowance.
Chairman of the committee, Ali Baba, alongside other members of the committee, applauded the minister's concern for the industry and assured that they will continue to render their contribution to nation building whenever their contributions are needed. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Federal Capital Territory Universal Basic Education Board has adopted Girl-Child Life Skills Manual containing code of conduct that will reposition schools across the FCT and beyond for effective learning. Ngozi Sylvia Technical reports that this code of conduct sets the rules and regulations by which the schools as a community will operate.
With schools across the country eager to resume academic activities after a long assumed holiday due to the devastating effect of coronavirus pandemic, cooperation of students, parents and the community to protect the girl child remains key to providing conducive learning environments. Setting out the code of conduct for stakeholders in the education sector is the aim of the manual adopted by the FCT UBEB, based on a 6-year case study by 2 non-governmental organizations.
Within the school, we want the learning outcomes to improve. We want the teacher quality to also be exceptional. We want girls to move from one level to another to transition, not just to stay. We want retention and completion.
It has helped girls to know their rights as girls, especially the child and vulnerable adult protection training, considering the rising cases of rape and all, it has helped marginalized girls to understand what abuse is and what violence is against them.
They train our girl child and our principals of our schools. And in fact, the program has gone a long way in shaping the life of our girls.
The Code of Conduct, aside instilling menstrual and other hygiene and safety practices among the skilled children, will foster gender-sensitive, inclusive and protective learning for not just the girl child, but for all pupils and students, irrespective of gender. In Abuja, Ngozi Silva, Technical, NTA News.
Now, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, is to purchase dexamethasone for COVID-19 patients in poor countries, just as 40 soldiers in South Africa test positive for coronavirus. Here is Joyce Ometu with an update on the pandemic.
The total number of confirmed coronavirus cases globally has crossed 11 million. Figures compiled by Johns Hopkins University as at 6 p.m. show that the world has registered 11,058,889 cases and 525,528 deaths with over 6 million recoveries. Out of these numbers, Africa has 436,710 cases, resulting to 10,696 deaths on the continent. In Nigeria, statistics by the Center for Disease Control indicates that 27,110 cases have been recorded, 616 deaths, and 10,801 patients have recovered. The United Nations Children's Fund is currently working to purchase the steroid dexamethasone for 4.5 million coronavirus-infected patients in low- and middle-income countries. Reports have it that the advance purchase will be made under a deal negotiation led by the UNITAID and Wellcome as part of the World Health Organization's plan to accelerate access to therapeutics. Researchers say the drug will prevent 1 death for every 8 patients treated while on ventilators and 1 for every 25 patients on extra oxygen. Meanwhile, the South African Defense Force has confirmed that at least 40 of its officers have tested positive for coronavirus. The troops are from an infantry battalion based in Cape Town and were deployed to the northern Limpopo province to help another battalion safeguard the border between South Africa and Zimbabwe. Elsewhere in the world, Britain will end coronavirus quarantines for people arriving in England from more than 50 countries, including Germany, France, Spain, and Italy. But the United States is excluded from the list. And that's a global update on COVID-19. Many thanks for watching. I am Joyce Ometu.
And from Oyo State comes the report that Governor Seyi Makinde has paid an on-the-spot assessment visit to communities affected by the recent heavy rainfall, which wreaked havoc in some parts of Ibadan and rendered many homeless. Ayomiko Ajibola has the details.
The heavy rainfall, which started at about 2 p.m., lasted for hours, with flood experienced in most parts of the city, which include New Garage, Olodo, Onipepeye in Old Ife Road, Apata, Okeado, among others, with properties worth millions of naira destroyed. Inspecting the affected communities, Governor Seyi Makinde explained that the state government had commenced work on proper channelization, better drainage system, construction of necessary bridges, and ensuring that no structure block the waterways in accordance with the drainage master plan under Ibadan Urban Flood Management Project.
The bridge is undersized, and yes, there's a drainage master plan for Oyo State under the Ibadan Urban Flood Management Projects. They've been identified, and I think we have to keep taking them out one at a time.
He promised that in the next 18 months, there will be appreciable improvement on the flood management in the state. In Ibadan, Ayomiku Ajibola, NTA News.
And still saying with flash floods being experienced in some parts of the country, we have in the studio Director General of the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, Mr. Clement Nze. Mr. Nze, glad to have you join us in our studio.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here.
We want you to refresh our minds and on the 2020 flood outlook.
The 2020 flood outlook, as predicted and presented by my agency, has predicted at 102 LGAs in Nigeria, cutting across 28 states, are likely to be heavily impacted by flood in 2020. And 275 other LGAs, which covers the entire country with the FCT, are equally prone to flooding, but may not be at the same magnitude as the 102 AGS in 28 states. So that's what our prediction for 2020, has presented.
Now, already a number of states have experienced devastating consequences of floods. Now, what measures should be put in place to reduce the gravity of disasters such as this, especially amidst the coronavirus pandemic?
You see, some states like Lagos began quite early this year, as early as February or even January, to do the needful by clearing so many drainages that were blocked. But the COVID-19 pandemic, took the center stage that so much is not being done with regards to enlightening the people about flooding in 2020. What are they supposed to do? All the state governors in Nigeria have been earlier informed by the other Ministry of Water Resources with regard to the AGS in their states. Each of the states, their names were mentioned, the AGS were mentioned. The state governors were informed by the other Ministry of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adam, and they were told what they should do to ensure that flooding, yes, it occurs every year, but to avoid the disaster that will follow it. Clear your drainages. Lagos State government began doing that early. Delta State began also doing the same. Clean your drainages. Remove structures that are within the flood plains. Like the governor was saying, Governor Makinde, the bridge was undersized. Houses were within the flood plains or swampy areas, depressions. So that any amount of rainfall will gravitate to flooding and destroying lives and property. Remove people that are within the flood plains. People should not build within the flood plains. Clean your drainages and to ensure that there is a free flow of a flood. And also dredge small rivers within your own states. Small rivers. Individuals have a lot to do.
Yeah, you've talked so much about clearing drainages. Experts have continuously talked about the need for sensitizing the public on what they also need to do on their part to avoid such flash floods. Now, what is your agency doing in this regard?
Normally, every year, after making public the prediction, the implication for each of the states, we normally move down to the grassroots as much as possible, using local languages to inform the people, distribute flyers to let them know what they should do. We sensitize the people. We collaborate with NOA, that's a rated agency that has offices in all the AGS in Nigeria. We collaborate with them. They have been informed to help to cascade the information to the local governments so that people will take responsibility and do the needful. So we have been doing sensitization through the social media and other means, one-on-one contact, to tell the people to be prepared and avoid things that will cause flooding to occur in their localities.
All right, we are just 2 months into this year's rainy season. What is the outlook? What's the outlook for the rains this year? How is it going to be?
You see, it worries us as an agency. We are just in July. The peak of flooding in Nigeria is between July, August, and September, the just months. July, August, and September. And already in June, we are seeing devastation. Whatever we presented is a prediction, although backed up with the data scientific data. Anything could change. We predicted that 2019 might be lower than 2018, but I don't know whether that is going to be so, because already we are seeing heavy flooding in Nigeria, and we are yet to get into the real months of flooding, July, August, and September. The river flooding is yet to come. River flooding. Nigeria, is traversed by two major transboundary rivers, Niger and Benue, that have their sources outside Nigeria. Once there is flooding in Niam, in Niger, in Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Conakry, Cameroon, and Chad, even Benin Republic, there will be flooding in Nigeria because all their major rivers enter into rivers Niger and Benue and come down to Nigeria. And that is usually August, September period.
We thank you very much, Mr. Nze, for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thanks for having me.
I've been speaking with Mr. Clement Nze. He is the Director General of the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency. You're watching the news on NTA International. Time now for a short break. More stories when we return.
Nigerians, let us take responsibility. Stay healthy, stay safe, and curb the spread of the virus. Take responsibility. The coronavirus spreads from one person to another. Let us avoid crowd gathering of any kind for any reason. Take responsibility. Avoid traveling from one state to another during these lockdown restrictions. Obey all the rules that are put in place. Take responsibility. Stop spreading fake news and unverified reports about the coronavirus. There is no known cure for COVID-19. Take responsibility. Observe all the measures that can help stop the spread of the virus. Together, we can do this, but only if we take responsibility. This is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
We thank you for staying with us. Now, the federal government has commenced the distribution of agricultural inputs nationwide to support farmers boost agricultural activities amidst coronavirus pandemic. Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development Muhammadu Sabunanonu flagged off the distribution in Lokoja, Kogi State. Musa Babaliu has the details.
The rainy season is close to its peak across the country, a very crucial period to farmers. And at a time like this, farming inputs such as seeds and fertilizer are next most important. However, the social and economic challenges occasioned by the outbreak of coronavirus affect the prices of farming inputs as well as the budget and purchasing power of smallholder farmers.
Due to all this lockdown here and there, at the end of the day, people cannot go to the farm. People cannot go anywhere. No work.
Dry season of farmers, they have no money. So many people run away because before you plant 2 muddles, you are going to 1,000.
The palliative coming from government is to assist farmers with quality seeds and seedlings and boost agricultural activities amidst COVID-19.
The minister takes the issue of food security and health of the population seriously. These seeds are being given to the beneficiaries free of charge, while other inputs given at 75% subsidy. It should be noted that this is the fourth in the series of distribution of the ministry's palliative to farmers nationwide.
For Kogi State, the farmers are going home with more than 134,000 kilograms of assorted seeds, comprising soybeans, sesame, cocoa, cashew, orange-fleshed sweet potato, and organic fertilizer.
So if they have come to produce all these inputs, well, the result is expected. Increase in food production, improvement in the livelihood of our people, provision of job for the youths and the rest of them. So we are very happy to have them here today.
The federal government give us the seed. We are going to distribute it to our farmers, and they will benefit from it, and we are going to put more effort. We are going to put more effort on it so that the production will be increased more than before.
That will enable us to improve whatever we are producing based on the best agricultural practice globally.
The minister announced that farmers across the country will also benefit from the federal government's gesture. From Lokoja, Kogi State, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk, says the conditional cash transfer program will continue to be on President Buhari's priority list, considering how the program has changed the lives of vulnerable Nigerians, especially in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. The minister stated this while inspecting the disbursement of cash for May and June in Lokoja, Kogi State. Ilyasu Aliyakubu brings us that story.
122,832 beneficiaries for the conditional cash transfer in Kogi State have been earmarked to benefit from the monthly 5,000 naira in the $322.5 million Abuja loot as directed by President Muhammadu Buhari. Out of this number, 74,162 beneficiaries have been enrolled and are being paid. This is in addition to 34,456 beneficiaries that are currently benefiting in Kogi State, as 48,661 vulnerable Nigerians in the state are waiting to be enrolled into the program. The humanitarian minister told Governor Yaya Bello of Kogi State that the federal government will not leave any stone unturned towards improving the welfare of vulnerable Nigerians.
Today we are continuing with the payments for the months of May and June, as we shall observe at the Falele Payment Center, which is expected to benefit 62,129 individuals.
Let me express on behalf of myself, the government and the good people of Kogi State, profound appreciation to Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, the father of the nation, very compassionate, for these wonderful efforts that is putting forward in ensuring that the citizens generally is self-sufficient.
The Director General, National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Air Vice Marshal Muhammadu Mohammed, was part of the minister's entourage. From Lokoja in Kogi State, Ilyasu Aliyakubu, NTA News.
The People's Democratic Party primary election panel for the October 10th Ondo State governorship election has screened the 9 aspirants vying for the seat. Correspondent Timothy Yusuf reports that the chairman of the panel, Yakubu Dogara, says no aspirants would be unjustly treated as they await the committee's verdict.
The 9 governorship aspirants screened behind closed door are Itayo Jegede, Senator Boluwaji Kunlere, incumbent Deputy Governor Agbola Ajayi, Dr. Eddie Olafeso, Ben Banji Okunomo, Ben Ayorinde, Otumba Bamidele Akingboye, Mr. Gode Erewa, and Shola Ebiseni.
This is my second major attempt at wanting to be governor of Ondo State, so I am not new to being screened.
While the aspirants await the result of the primary election screening panel, its chairman Yakubu Dogara said that they were thorough with their assignment.
The party will be proud of the exercise we have done, and then nobody will be unjustifiably denied clearance for any reason. Anyone who is qualified, as a matter of fact, it's not even our responsibility to clear them. It's the documents they are putting before us, that will clear them.
The People's Democratic Party's primary election for the Ondo State governorship election is slated for the 22nd of this month. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Now, the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, says there is no rift nor infighting within the ranks of the party needing any resolution or reconciliation. The APC stalwart stated this while answering questions from journalists after a closed-door meeting with members of the APC Caretaker Committee at his Ikoyi residence in Lagos. Nosa Osula reports.
The national leader noted that the party leadership had trust and respect for the chairman of the Caretaker Committee and that they were willing to support him to succeed for the party to continue its progressive governance of the country.
Sincerely, we have trust and respect for the character of the chairman of the Caretaker Committee and willing to support him to succeed for the party to continue its crusade of progressive governance in the country. We are steering the ship of our nation and our party in the right direction.
Chairman of the committee, Governor of Yobe State, Mai Malabuni, who led other members to the meeting, explained that the series of meetings is all part of the consultation being made.
It's all part of the consultation we are making. The task before us is daunting, and we need their experiences, guidance, and prayers.
Other members of the committee in attendance include Chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, Secretary of Caretaker Committee of APC, Senator Akpan Udo Edehe, and Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. In Lagos, Nusa Osula, NTA News.
In the way from politics, President Muhammadu Buhari has paid glowing tribute to the late Ooni of Ife, Oba Adesoji Aderemi, on the occasion of the 40th anniversary of the passage of the foremost monarch. Special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity states that in a letter to the family of the departed Oba, the President described as a pleasure this tribute in memory of the illustrious Ooni of Ife, Oba Adesoji Aderemi, who reigned between 1930 and 1980. The statement further adds that on the 40th remembrance anniversary of the great man, the country recalls the imprints of the sands of time of a foremost nationalist, very successful businessman, former governor of the Western region and traditional ruler. Sports news now. Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development submits COVID-19 sports code protocol to Presidential Task Force. Ayodeji Makinde has this and more on Sports Updates.
A 12-member committee for the official launching of Nigeria Sports Hall of Fame and Nigeria Sports Book of Records has been inaugurated in Abuja by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, Gabriel Aduda. The committee, chaired by Dance Adokie, is set to meet the mandate of identifying those who have sacrificed their lives for the growth and development of sports in the country.
We should be able to create an awareness for this nation to make sure that our athletes work hard so that they'll be honored any day, whether they are there or not.
In a related development, the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development has submitted the COVID-19 Sports Code Protocol to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and the leadership of the National Assembly towards a slight ease of lockdown on individual and non-contact sports.
Work with the various committees on COVID-19 to ensure that their rules and regulations are in place. We think that Nigeria also should be able to join the rest of the world in returning back to our sporting activities as soon as practicable.
Away from Nigeria, 5 matches will be decided on Saturday in the English Premier League as Norwich City confronts Brighton and Leicester City welcome Crystal Palace, while Manchester United will host AFC Bournemouth in the match that will be transmitted live on the NTA network at 2:30 p.m. In Abuja, Ayodeji Makinde, NTA News.
And those are the stories that made the news at this time on NTA International. We thank you for your time. I am Lami Ali.
Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. All visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application